The top stories tonight in My News. The Philippines may likely remain under COVID-19 alert level 1 until the end of President Duterte's term in June this year, according to Health Secretary Francisco Duque III.
Labor groups seek fair working hours on the possible implementation of the 4-day work week amid rising oil prices.
Lawmakers confirmed that a security breach occurred within the operations of Smartmatic for the automated May 2022 elections. The Commission on Election, meanwhile, says it will take action on the report.
At least 4 people died while scores were injured after a powerful earthquake hit northeastern Japan, the same region that was devastated by a deadly quake and tsunami in 2011.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Thursday, March 17, 2022. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the Philippines and in other parts of the world. I am Harleen Delgado.
We are also seen in 1,935 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through the UNTV News and Rescue social media accounts and our website, untvweb.com. I am William Theo.
First in the news. The national government may retain the COVID-19 alert level 1 status in the country until the end of President Rodrigo Duterte's term. The Department of Health reiterates the wearing of face masks is still be mandatory for the public. Rosa Licons explains why.
It was Health Secretary Francisco Duque III who first mentioned that experts were looking into further de-escalating the country's COVID-19 quarantine status to alert level 0. However, the Secretary said the policies to be implemented regarding the lowest quarantine status are still being studied and crafted. Thus, the health chief believes the COVID-19 alert level 1 will likely be the lowest restrictions to be implemented until June 30, 2022 when President Rodrigo Duterte steps down.
Pero sa ngayon, masyadong premature, masyado pang maaga. So, alert level 1 muna tayo, malamang hanggang sa katapusan ng termino ng ating Pangulong Duterte.
Especially now, many areas are still under COVID-19 alert level 2. He added vaccination coverage in the country should be expanded first because even public health experts are unsure if no new coronavirus variants will exist. Meanwhile, Secretary Duque also said it is not yet time to ease the face mask mandate. According to him, other nations see another COVID-19 surge because they lifted their requirement to wear face mask.
Tingin ko hindi pa panahon para magtanggal ng face mask at matuto tayo sa karanasan ng mga iba't ibang mga bansa sa Europa na kung saan tinanggal nila ang mask mandates. O kita mo, naglipanan na naman ang mga kaso.
Currently, the Philippines is still on COVID-19 downward trend, but the government is worried about the slow pace of COVID-19 vaccination and fewer people availing of booster shots. Rosa Licos, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
Meanwhile, the Department of Trade and Industry is reviewing if it would release a new suggested retail price bulletin on selected products. This is amid the fresh round of increases on certain prices of certain commodities. Among the products that are under review for price adjustments are canned sardines, processed milk, meatloaf, and canned meat beef.
Pinag-aaralan po natin kasi pag nagbibigay po tayo ng SRP Bulletin na may price adjustment, alam naman po natin ang magiging epekto din yan kasi kung tataas pa yung presyo.
Transport groups call for more aid from the government for operators and drivers of public utility vehicles. They demand for stimulus package instead of just fuel subsidy. Asher Kadapon Jr. details why.
Amid the oil price hike, suspension of the implementation of fuel excise tax is expected to alleviate the burden of drivers and operators of public utility vehicles, among others. But after President Rodrigo Duterte expressed disapproval of such proposal, the National Public Transport Coalition demands for other assistance instead.
Kung talagang hindi nila ibibigay ang excise tax, hingi kami ng mga stimulus package sa bawat sektor kasi hindi naman pare-pareho ang lagay namin sa masanap buhay, no? Hindi naman lahat ayuda ang kailangan o yung fuel subsidy lang.
The Pinagisang Samahan ng mga Chuperot Operators Nationwide or Piston also believes that the government should provide aid corresponding to their immediate need and not just fuel subsidy.
Itong ayudang ito ay hindi namin maibibili ito ng bigas, hindi namin ito mabibili ng pagkain kasi nakalaan nga ito sa fuel subsidy na di gobyerno pa rin yung nagdidisenyo, gobyerno sila pa rin nagsasabi saan gagamitin. Kaya sa atin ay kung magbibigay sila ng ayuda, dapat doon sa makakatulong agad sa mga driver at operator at sa mamamayan.
Public utility jeepney drivers, on the other hand, attest to the very low revenue they gain from their operations.
Sa ngayon sir, hindi sasapat ng isang round trip namin. Kasi sa ngayon, 300 ang kargahan namin isang round trip na diesel, tapos nagra-round trip lang kami ng pera na 400 gano'n. 300 ang kargahan, di 100 lang matitira. Ang boundary po namin sa ngayon, 500. 5 ikot to yun bago kami maka-boundary.
Sa ngayon, medyo wala talaga. Mahina. Halos wala na kami inuwi sa pamilya namin. Mag-uwi ka, 300, 400. Pag tumaas ba yan, baka siguro yung 300 na yun, bababa pa.
The transport groups, however, are set to join the hearing in Congress on Monday to continue the discussion of the possibility of passing a bill to suspend the fuel excise tax. Asher Kadapan Jr., UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Iloilo City Hall will adopt the 4-day work week as recommended by the National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA. Lalay Moreno has the story.
Beginning March 28, the Iloilo City government will adopt the 4-day work week arrangement for its City Hall employees. Under the new work schedule, government employees must still render 10 hours of work per day. With that, employees must come to work at 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. from previous 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. or 8 hours of work per day. Offices including Public Safety and Transportation Management, City Health Office, Government Beautification Program, General Services Office, and City Engineers will still report on the 5th day. The LGU clarified that this is only temporary to help its residents cope with the rising oil prices.
It will not make it convenient to everyone because it will mean apat lang kadlaw ang ilamang ubra, but we will have to adjust. No temporary man lang during this time.
The Iloilo City government will also offer free rides to its employee. Meanwhile, residents in the city are advised to complete their transaction until Thursday. Lelaine Moreno, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Meanwhile, a labor group seeks fair working hours if companies implement a compressed work week in their office. Eileen Cerudo will tell us why.
The Trade Union Congress of the Philippines raised concern that a 10-hour workday might pose health risk to an employee. The labor group stressed that an employer should consider the capacity of their workers in working 10 hours a day before implementing a compressed or a 4-day work week.
So kung sila ay magtrabaho ng more than 8 hours, may epekto ito sa kanila, sa kanilang pag-iisip, sa kanilang kalusugan, at at the conclusion magkakaroon sila ng sakit at maapektuhan at liliit, kakaunti yung kanilang magiging productivity.
The group also adds that not all sectors would be able to adapt to the 4-day work week, adding to that there are workers who get paid per day.
Dapat magkaroon ng consultation. Kinakailangan munang pumayag ang mga magagawa sa plano ng management na magpatupad nito. Ngayon, kung hindi pumayag ang mga magagawa, ay hindi pwedeng ipatupad, no? Hindi pwedeng pag-initan ng mga magagawa, hindi pwedeng i-demote at hindi pwedeng pagalitan, no? Hindi maganda yung ganitong sapilitan ng pagpapatupad ng 4-day work week.
The National Economic and Development Authority, or NEDA, proposed a compressed work week amid the rising oil prices. According to the agency, workers will conserve fuel consumption through the 4-day work week.
Siguro subukan natin yung conservation of energy. At isang halimbawa dito ay yung 4-day work week. Magtatrabaho pa rin po ang bawat Pilipino na 40 hours per day, pero imbis na sa 5 araw ay 4 na araw, pero imbis na 8 oras kada araw, magiging 10 oras kada araw.
According to the Department of Labor and Employment, employers can already implement a compressed workweek setup based on the Labor Code of the Philippines. Employers and workers should come to an agreement for the said work arrangement.
Doon po sa panukalang gawing 4-day work week, sa tingin ko po hindi na kailangan ng isang batas pa dyan o kaya panibagong department order. Sapagkat nung mga nakaraang taon nakapag-issue na rin po tayo ng mga labor advisor na ang mga employer ay pwede silang mag-implement ng tinatawag nating flexible work arrangement.
Meanwhile, in an interview, acting presidential spokesperson and PCOS Secretary Martin Andanar said President Rodrigo Duterte will announce his decision on the issue on Monday. Eileen Cerudo, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
The House Committee on Labor and Employment urged the National Wages and Productivity Commission to resolve the pending wage hike petitions within 30 days. Nel Marigbuhok will tell us why.
The members of the House Committee on Labor and Employment requested the National Wages and Productivity Commission, or NWPC, to fast-track the process on the wage hike petitions filed in various regions. House Panel Chair Eric Pineda expressed his frustrations on NWPC's ineffectiveness in resolving the appeal of Filipino workers.
What we're telling you is, do your job. If not, we will be compelled, Congress will be compelled, someone will file a bill. If not, ako na po mismo magpa-file ng bill to abolish the National Wages and Productivity Commission.
House Panel Vice Chairperson and Baguio City Representative Mark Go has asked the committee to approve a resolution urging the Wage Board to resolve the said petitions immediately.
I move, Mr. Chair, that we request the different wage boards in the whole country to immediately resolve pending petitions filed and motu proprio within 30 days, Mr. Chair.
NWPC Executive Director Criselda C. assured the House Committee that she will relay the concern of the lawmakers.
I will relay the urgent concern of the Congress to the board, Mr. Chair, because the NCR board is the one empowered to act on the petition for NCR.
The Trade Union Congress of the Philippines, or TUCP, has already filed a 470 wage hike petition before the Regional Tripartite Wages and Productivity Board, NCR. The House panel today tackled the 7 bills that seeks to amend the Labor Code of the Philippines and institutionalize the 750 pesos minimum wage. However, the Department of Finance opposed the said proposal of institutionalizing the minimum wage increase.
We pose an objection to the proposed measures as this may cause high inflation on top of the ongoing fuel crisis that would impact both in business side and in households.
The House panel members will convene again after 30 days, the period given to the Wage Board to resolve the petitions. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, has recorded over 100,000 defective ballots for the 2022 elections. Meanwhile, COMELEC will release next week the recalibrated rules for campaigning. Dante Amento will give us the details live. Yes, Dante, good evening. Go ahead.
Good evening, William. The Commission on Elections wants to ensure the integrity of the ballots for the 2022 polls. These have passed strict verification for quality control. Thus, the Printing Committee found 105,350 defective ballots for the over 50 million official ballots already printed.
If in this particular precinct, in this what we call as clustered precinct, if there are 1,000 ballots to be printed and our printing committee determined that merong isang balota of the 1,000, may na-determine na isang balota na not good ballot. Bakit not good? Mali yung cut o kaya yung color ay mali din. Okay? O kaya medyo hindi malinaw yung kulay at saka may line. The entire 999, the remaining 999 will have to be set aside.
Latest COMELEC data shows 74.8% of the total official ballots are already printed. Garcia stressed they cannot compromise the quality of the ballots.
Ang kulay ng mga, pag nakita yung balota, yung nakita natin sa Santa Rosa when you were there, yung kulay eksakto, perfect, yung mga lines, walang lines na makikita ka, the secret markings are there, yung timestamp na nasa gilid are practically there, tama yung cut ng balota, tama yung size ng balota, dumadaan po yan sa pinakamataas na quality control.
All defective ballots will be shredded, and the poll body will invite the public to include political parties, citizens' arms, observers, among others, to witness the destruction thereof. Meanwhile, the COMELEC may release the new rules for campaigning next week. Under the recalibrated guidelines, permit from the COMELEC campaign committee is no longer needed, except from those required by the local government units. 100% capacity of venue is allowed in areas under alert level 1 and 70% under alert level 2. However, the COMELEC clarifies the provisions that prohibit handshaking, kissing, taking of selfies, and the like are upheld. Proper complaint can be filed over violation of the campaign rules. William, the recalibrated rules are under a resolution amending COMELEC Resolution 10732. And that's our latest live from Quezon City. Back to you, William.
Yes, thank you. Dante Amento reporting live from Quezon City.
With less than 2 months away from the May 9 elections, Senator Amy Marcos is convinced that there is a security breach in the systems of Smartmatic, the system provider of Commission on Elections for the country's automated elections. Marcos, who sits as the chairperson of the Senate Committee on Electoral Reforms and People's Participation, told this before the media following an executive session with other senators and COMELEC officials. The Senate panel also conducted a hearing.
There indeed was a security breach in the Smartmatic operation. It may not be technically hacking. However, we feel that it compromises the processes and operations of Smartmatic in very serious ways.
According to the senator, those included in the alleged leak info that were released on social media include personal information and the processes of Smartmatic.
Makikita ninyo sa isang XSOS na nasa Facebook, andun nakalatag kung ano-anong informasyon. Ngayon, sinasabi nila yung information daw doon, yung iba bulok na, 2016, may mga personal information. Ganun pa man, kinakabahan ako kasi may mga procedure ng Smartmatic, ang kanilang mga ledger, may mga picture ng kanilang mga opisina, may mga contact person sa COMELEC.
Merong empleyado ang Smartmatic na nilabas yung laptop niya at hinayaang, well, not hack, but hinayaang makopya ng a certain group.
Senate President Vicente Soto III says he made a motion before the committee to divulge to the public the details that were discussed during the executive session. Marcos says they will do so in the soonest possible time without jeopardizing the investigations of various agencies on the matter. However, Smartmatic spokesperson attorney Christopher Duque Ocampo denies the alleged personal data breach, noting that they are not involved in the processing or storing of voter information for the 2022 polls.
Ang Smartmatic po, ang kontrata lang po is to provide the automated election system. That's it. Pag na-provide na po yon, wala na pong kinalaman ang Smartmatic sa pagpapatakbo ng elections. Ang servers and system ng Smartmatic ay completely separate and independent from the servers and systems of COMELEC. Wala pong linkage yan.
Ocampo adds they are asking for further details to verify the authenticity of the alleged leaked data on social media. For the COMELEC part, Commissioner Attorney George Garcia says they have contacted the National Bureau of Investigation regarding the alleged breach, and the poll body would wait for the agency's report.
The government announces the cash assistance for 4-piece members is ready for download. However, presidential candidate Manny Pacquiao, Labor Group, and 4-piece members criticized the government's response to address the needs of poor families affected by soaring fuel prices. JP Nunez will tell us why.
From the presidential bet, Senator Manny Pacquiao suggests that the government should give poor families a sack of rice instead of 200 peso cash subsidy amid soaring prices of petroleum products. Pacquiao explains that this may also hit two birds in one stone if the government will buy rice supply from local farmers who are also affected by big-time oil price hike.
Yung 200 pesos a month, hindi siguro tayo makasurvive na, baka tatlong araw wala na, ubos na yun. Maliit masyado yung 200 pesos a month para sa ating mga pamilya. Ang suggestion ko siguro, bigyan na lang tag-isang sakong bigas, mas maganda pa.
The labor group Kilusang Mayo 1 echoes the same sentiment. Said the government response was only an insult and not enough for the welfare of general public.
Ibibigay 200 pesos kada araw, isang napakalaking insulto at hindi yun katanggap-tanggap sa bawat pamilyang Pilipino. Bakit ba ayaw nilang i-suspend ang excise tax? Bakit ayaw nilang i-suspend ang IVAT samantalang ito po makikinabang ang pinakamarami nating kababayan at hindi lang selective?
The palace announces that the cash subsidy will be downloaded and Pantawid Pamilya Pilipino program or 4-piece beneficiaries will start to get 200 peso cash assistance within this month. However, some of its members believe that the additional cash assistance will not be sufficient even on a single-day need of a family. 4-piece members explains that with the current prices of basic commodities, they are already spending not less than 300 pesos on a single-day basis.
Yung 200, hindi naman po siguro ganun kalaking tulong kasi sa mahal po ng mga bilihin na nga eh. Siyempre, ano pa mabibili sa 200? Crudo nga, tumaas na eh. Lalo pa sa amin na may mga batang nagagatas.
Sa ulam na, sa tanghalian, magkano na? Yung hapunan mo pa. Diba? Siyempre, magkaibang ulam yan. O, yung 200 sa umaga, kulang yun.
JP Nunez, UNTV, News and Rescue. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Medical experts suggest that a doctor's prescription should be required in buying vape and e-cigarettes. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
Medical societies are worried over the easy access and proliferation of vape products in the Philippines, making it available even to teenagers. Doctors also oppose the vape bill passed by both houses of Congress, Senate Bill 2239 or Vape Regulation Bill, allowing 18 years old and above to purchase vaping products, whereas the existing vape bill in the country's age requirement is at 21. This is why the Philippine Medical Association proposes that the use of vape and e-cigarettes in the country should require a doctor's prescription.
Sa law na to, may inganyo yung kabataan lalong gumamit kasi pinaganda yung lalagyan, pinaganda yung dinagdagan pa nilang flavors. Instead na makabuti ay mas makakasama ang gagamit ng vape bill, dapat may reseta ng doktor. At yung gagamit ito, yung mga naninigarilyo na para lang ma-regulate.
The Southeast Asia Tobacco Control Alliance also supports this move since other countries have been implementing this.
Pinag-uusapan po ito yung prescription of e-cigarettes as a means of smoking cessation. Not just in the Philippines, pero in other countries din. In Australia, pinagbabawal po ang lahat ng e-cigarettes and heated tobacco products. So they have a ban. But if smokers want to use e-cigarettes for quitting smoking, they have to get it by prescription. This is part of the regulation by their Therapeutic Goods Authority, parang yung FDA natin.
Medical societies somehow believe that President Duterte will hear their call as the current administration opposes any form of addiction.
Let's be vocal, no? Let's use the social media to call on our president to veto the vape bill. The children is the future of the Philippines. Let's have a healthy Pilipinas, a healthier future naman.
The DOH maintains that vape products are harmful and not risk-free, and therefore should be regulated as health products due to their toxic substances and effects. Vape liquids and its emission contain chemicals such as nicotine and carbon monoxide that are either addictive, toxic, or can cause cancer. Additionally, the DOH said that studies have shown vape use increases the risk of using other unknown addictive substances, such as cigarette use, alcoholism, and even marijuana use. There's also growing evidence of the harmful effects of using vapes, both to the user and those exposed to it, including its potential to cause cardiovascular diseases, respiratory problems, and explosion injuries. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
The Philippine National Police has launched its campaign aimed at ensuring the safety of motorists and travelers during the long holiday break. Leah Ilagan details this report.
The Philippine National Police released a set of operational guidelines to better ensure that minimum public health standards and peace and order are maintained, especially in tourist destinations. Under the guidelines, police units and stations are tasked to coordinate with community-based volunteers and force multipliers to be deployed whenever there is a significant activity. PNP spokesperson Police Colonel Jean Fajardo said they will install police assistance desks on major thoroughfares and various tourist destinations in the country.
Base po sa figures na ibinigay po sa atin ay halos mahigit 17,000 na police personnel po ang i-deploy po natin sa mga places of convergence. Sama na po dyan yung mga transportation hubs, terminals, pati po yung mga tourist destination natin sa kalakhang Pilipinas na po yan.
Of the said number, 5,000 policemen will be appointed as tourist police for foot and bike patrol.
Inatasan na po ang ating mga field commanders na makipag-ugnayan po sa mga local chief executives po natin, lalong-lalo na po dito sa ating mga local tourism offices para po masiguro po na magiging ligtas po yung ating mga turista, both local and foreign po, dahil inaasahan na po natin ang pagdagsa ng ating mga turista, lalong-lalo na po ngayon na wala na po halos restriction o kung meron man very minimal na po yung restriction pagdating po sa travel and movement.
Regular visits and inspection of tourist sites will also be implemented. Maximum police visibility will be observed in places of convergence and vital installations such as passenger terminals. Each police station assigned in the LGUs must also activate their tourist police to focus on specific complaints so immediate action can be taken. Meanwhile, no security threats have been monitored or received so far by the PNP. Leah Ilagan, UNTV News and Rescue. We serve the people, we give glory to God.
And for the news abroad, 4 people died and scores were injured after a powerful 7.4 magnitude earthquake hit northeast Japan, the same region where a major earthquake triggered the Fukushima nuclear disaster 11 years ago. Ia De Vera reports the details live. Go ahead, Ia.
Muriel, a powerful 7.4 quake hit Fukushima Prefecture in Japan Wednesday night and was felt across eastern, central, and western parts of the country. Japan's meteorological agency urgently issued an advisory for tsunami waves, but was lifted Thursday morning after only relatively small tsunami waves were observed. The quake, which left 4 people dead and 97 injured as of this morning, occurred in waters of Fukushima at depth of about 57 kilometers. It has caused power outages affecting a total of more than 2.2 million homes, 700,000 households of which are in the capital Tokyo, though most of them were already restored, officials say. The quake also caused a high-speed bullet train to derail between the train station in Fukushima and Miyagi prefectures. No injuries were reported among the 100 passengers on board, according to East Japan Railway Company. Several sections of highways in Miyagi and Soma has been closed due to the 7.4 quake, which was initially announced as 7.3 on Japanese scale. Authorities warned residents in Fukushima, Miyagi, and Yamagata prefectures to expect aftershocks for the next week or so. Meanwhile, Chief Cabinet Secretary Hirokazu Matsuno said a possibility of upper 6 magnitude could strike Tokyo in the coming week, as he warned people to be on alert. Mariel, the quake left Japanese citizens unsettled as it struck just days after the 11th anniversary of the 2011 earthquake in the same region. Mariel?
Yeah, I remember there was a big nuclear plant disaster after the 2011 earthquake at the same prefecture where this 7.4 quake hit last night. Could you give us any updates of the status of these nuclear plants, and were there any signs of melting down or any problems they've discovered?
Yes, Mariel, Japan's Nuclear Energy Authority said so far they have detected no signs of abnormalities at the Fukushima No. 1 nuclear plant, which went into meltdown 11 years ago. Other nuclear plants in the area have been shut down and will be later restored. There had been no reports so far of the damage at the Onagawa nuclear power plant in Miyagi Prefecture. Back to you, Mariel.
Thank you, Iya De Vera, reporting live. As the war conflict between Russia and Ukraine reaches its 21st day, the Kremlin has said that some parts of a possible peace deal with Ukraine are close to being agreed after Kiev hinted at a possible route for a compromise. Marvidal Finn will give us the details live. Yes, Marvi, go ahead.
Mariel, according to Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, they were close to agreeing acceptable terms for a future Ukrainian neutrality, though analysts are skeptical negotiations will yield a lasting solution. This amid the destruction of an apartment block and the airstrike of a theater made into an evacuation shelter for hundreds of civilians, which Russia's defense ministry immediately denied. Mariel, the Kremlin said that the sides were discussing status for Ukraine similar to that of Austria or Sweden, both members of the European Union that are outside the NATO military alliance. But Ukraine's chief negotiator said Kiev was still demanding a ceasefire and the withdrawal of Russian troops. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said Russia's demands were more realistic and that more time is needed for the talks, which are being held by video conference. In a speech to the U.S. Congress that drew a standing ovation, Zelensky appealed for tougher sanctions on Russia and more weapons to help his country fight for the values of Europe and the world. However, the White House said that U.S. President Joe Biden had not changed his opposition to imposing a no-fly zone over Ukraine, something military experts say would be the equivalent to the U.S. entering the war against Russia. Biden has then labeled Russian leader Vladimir Putin a war criminal in a move likely to escalate diplomatic tensions even further, a comment that White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said came from the president's heart rather than an official declaration in light of the barbaric images of the violence in Ukraine. Marielle?
Thank you, Mark Vidal-Finn, for that live report. First released in the United States on Wednesday,
Instagram introduced its new set of parental supervision tools following the testimonies and concerns about social dilemma and the mental health damage, particularly on teenagers. This offers more support to parents in monitoring and limiting their kids' usage of the Meta platform Instagram. Parents will now have the ability to see how active their teens are on the photo sharing app and enables them to set limits, look into the following accounts and followers, as well as getting notifications regarding their kids' account. For now, adults will still have to request supervision of their teens' account, and teenagers will still have to initiate the guidance process on their gadgets and approve it. Although more features are still on its way and some are getting revised, Meta is planning to roll this out globally in the upcoming months to satisfy those who are concerned about the leaked internal documents about Meta caring more about profit than user safety. Successor to the Hubble Space Telescope, the James Webb Space Telescope reaches a significant milestone as it meets expectations. Paul Gatchalian will give us the details live. Yes, Paul, good evening.
Mariel, the James Webb Space Telescope captured phenomenal images as engineers managed to produce sharp and detailed depiction of a test star they focused on. The lead NASA engineer for the Webb's optic development described the image's extensive details, highlighting the diffraction of the star. While featuring the surrounding stars in the background, to reach the quality of images produced, the Webb telescope was built with a 6.5-meter wide primary mirror and 18 hexagonal segments making up a reflecting surface adjusted in orientation and curvature by small motors. Additionally, the James Webb Space Telescope captures images in the near and mid-infrared spectrum, which is not visible to the human eye. It has the goal of capturing the first stars to shine and to identify potentially habitable planets. Since its release in December last year and reaching such a high standard, NASA states that progress remains to be made before they label the $10 billion observatory to be operational. Ariel?
Paul, how does the James Webb Space Telescope differ from the Hubble Space Telescope?
Well, Mariel, distance-wise, the James Webb Telescope is 1 million miles away from the Earth, while the Hubble Space is approximately 340 miles away. Equipped with a larger primary mirror compared to the Hubble Telescope's 2.7 meters, the James Webb is able to capture more light and therefore a more detailed image. With the extended ability to observe into the mid-infrared spectrum, which the Hubble Space Telescope could not, the James Webb has more capabilities that produce more detailed pictures of stars and galaxies. Images produced are also significantly different from others. Back to you, Mariel.
Thank you, Paul Gatchalian, reporting live. And those are the reasons behind the news in other parts of the globe. I am Maria Latoza reporting live from Perth, Australia. Good evening.
And before we close, we will leave you with a word, giving glory to God. From the book of Proverbs, chapter 13, verse 3. It says, "He that keepeth his mouth keepeth his life, but he that openeth wide his lips shall have destruction." And those are the reasons behind the news, March 17, 2022. Reasons we deliver to you as they unfold. I am Herlene Delgado.
And because we need to know, we will always ask why. I am William Theo. We serve the people. We give glory to God.
Pero sa ngayon, masyadong premature, masyado pang maaga. So, alert level 1 muna tayo, malamang hanggang sa katapusan ng termino ng ating Pangulong Duterte. So, dahan-dahan tayo, let us be prudent, and let us be guided by data and science through our expert panel.
So, kung sila ay magtrabaho ng more than 8 hours, may epekto ito sa kanila, sa kanilang pag-iisip, sa kanilang kalusugan, at at the conclusion, magkakaroon sila ng sakit at maapektuhan at liliit pakaunti yung kanilang magiging productivity.
Makikita ninyo sa isang XSOS na nasa Facebook, andun nakalatag kung ano-anong informasyon. Ngayon, sinasabi nila yung information daw doon, yung iba bulok na 2016, may mga personal information. Ganun pa man, kinakabahan ako kasi may mga procedure ng Smartmatic, ang kanilang mga ledger, may mga picture ng kanilang mga opisina, may mga contact person sa COMELEC.
Smartmatic po, ang kontrata lang po is to provide the automated election system. That's it. Pag na-provide na po yon, wala na pong kinalaman ang Smartmatic sa pagpapatakbo.